good day, everyone. Back on the Elegoo Centauri carbon printer, as you can see in front of the camera there. Wanted to do a little update. I've had another situation occur that involves another moon. Just for the record, I was able to finally print a full moon successfully. I finally got brave enough to try it again. And I did as I said I was going to do. I started to print in such a way that I would be up for the end of it. And as such, I watched it finish just fine. And I am sorry if you hear noises in the background, buzzing and things like that. Maybe somebody talking. I'm watching a live stream on YouTube. So that is what that looks like. I don't know if you can see there are tools. On the front there, there's a thing to remove the hot end nozzle and some hemostats there, and I have been working on this. I'm going to flash up pictures of the problem that I had. This was just the other night. We started working with a 7-inch moon, which is considerably smaller. I'm gonna post it, or I'll try to pan up here and show you the difference if I can. There we go. If you can see it amongst all that white background there, the larger one is in the background there, and the shorter, or the 7-inch one is in the front. Now that was successfully printed, but it was not printed on this machine here. The one I did print, if you looked at the picture I posted, I hope I posted the picture by now. If I haven't, I will. Of the where it ended up. Now it's hard to see in that picture, but the printer says on the display screen that it is complete, and obviously it was not. The problem was an air print. I think I've discussed that before, that some people have had that, and now I've had my first one. So let me get back down here to this again. So, like I said, it is a situation where the printer thinks filament is coming out of the nozzle and is not, for whatever the reason. The printer just thinks that it's got filament, it's printing just like it always prints, and it goes ahead and completes the print. So that didn't happen, obviously, you can see. But the real problem was, after that happened, I went ahead and reset the computer, or not the computer, the 3D printer. I turned it off, turned it back on again, and thought maybe it would be fine, but it's still not extruding any filament. It basically stopped. So I have been working with the Elegoo support on this, trying to get this to do it what it's supposed to do. And I'm going to open up the printer here. We're going to get the camera repositioned so you can see what I've been doing, and go from there. Okay, what you should be able to see, and let me get this light here and so I can shine it on things I need to shine it on. There's the actual, get the light on. There's the actual extruder up there. Alright, now you can see it a little bit better, I think. That's the actual extruder. Now that has the thing that feeds the filament through. There's gears in there that actually grab a hold of it and push it down into the hot end. This is the hot end here, and that fits right in there. And that's where the nozzle is, on the hot end there. It comes out, the filament comes out there in a very fine 0.04 millimeter stream, supposed to be, or should be. So that's where I'm at right now. Now the thing I'm working on is it's difficult to see, but up in the upper right hand corner there's a little window there, and you can see some silvery stuff up in there. That's a screw that adjusts the tension on those gears, causing them to basically grab a hold of the filament a little harder, stronger, whatever you want to call it, and force it down through the extruder, or through the hot end, I'm sorry. And so I want to take that piece off, and that's going to come next. It took me a while to get the cover off of that because the screws that hold it on, there's 4 screws that hold it on, would not come out with the tools provided. I had to find a better fitting hex bit that I had in my collection, and I got in there with that and was able to get the cover off. And once I did that, and you know, it's much better. So I went ahead and took the hot end off because there was a piece of filament in there. I know you can't really see it, but I'll try my best to show you. There's a hole right there. That's where the filament goes down through there. And at the other end of the hole, there's a nozzle that screws into that. And that's where the filament comes out. But anyway, there was a piece of filament. Now this is the piece that I got out of there. See if I can get a hold of it to where you can see how long it is. There you go. There's how long it was, and that was in there. Now I don't know that that's not normal because there's a cutter. You can see this bar here is a cutter that cuts the filament when you change it from one spool to the other. And so, you know, I don't know that that was the, you know, after you cut it, then it's going to have a piece of filament like that left in there. And so I don't know if that's normal or what. But anyway, I could not get it to feed past that. It would not do it. The people at support are thinking the gears have lost their tension or either stripped or something, causing, you know, there not be enough force on the filament to push it through the nozzle. And that's what we're doing now. I'm got, like I said, there's 3 more screws there on that this cover here that I'm going to be taking out, and there's gears behind there and things like that. I'm going to be checking all of that, make sure there's nothing lodged in there causing a problem. But you can see, if you look close, this is the tip of the filament right there, and that is in there. Now I did check with moving the you can take the control panel and make the extruder move down and up the filament inside that extruder, and it does move up and down. Now that's free movement up and down. I don't know that it would work the same way if there was pressure on it, like the pressure of pushing it down through the nozzle. So that is the problem we're trying to figure out. So I want, like I said, I want to go ahead and take that apart, make sure that has not has any problems. There's no stripped gears or looseness or anything, or even debris in there that would cause the problem. So let me get work on that. It's impossible to get you in the camera or me in the camera and at the same time, so I can't very well show you how I'm doing this. The best I can do is show you what I have done. So let me do that, and we'll bring you back and show you that. Alright, we are back once again. I have the piece here, as you can see, off. That's a really sharp blade right there. I didn't find any problems in here at all that I could see clearly. But as I was taking this off, let me turn this around a little bit here. This screw here was, I would say, maybe if one thread was holding it, I would say that would be calling it maybe a little close. It was loose. It was, I could screw it out. It wasn't very far from being completely out of the threads completely. This one was a little tighter, but it wasn't totally tight, and this one was the only tight one in there. So I'm thinking that is going to be our problem. Obviously, if it doesn't have, you know, good, I would think anyway. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm thinking that's the problem. Again, I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert at this in any form or fashion. And like I said, the only thing I know to do is, again, looking here at this, seeing basically, I keep doing that, don't mean to, but I do it. I don't really see anything at all wrong with that. I kind of like to have this gear out of the way so I could look in there a little closer, but it doesn't really want to come out there easily. And some of the early ones, I believe, had the cover over that to where they would come out. And I say earlier ones, this may be a early one here, and I may be talking about the later ones. I don't know. But I've seen pictures of the front of that, where the two halves, where the filament goes down through there, and those gears are, that you can actually see that space. And this one a little harder to see that way. Maybe they were looking at this, I don't know. Maybe they had the gear out of the way and you could actually see it. So the plan now is basically put this back in, tighten everything good. I'm going to turn that a quarter of a turn, tighten, I guess, is to the direction, and I was told the direction is counterclockwise to tighten it. In other words, when I say tighten it, I'm saying put more pressure on the filament and the gears pushing against it or whatever to grab it better. So that's the plan. I think that maybe I may go ahead and contact Elegoo support again and tell them what I found, and then let them advise me if I still need to try to adjust that, tighten that gear tension or not. And you know, I'm thinking the problem though is that loose screw, because that's the second loose screw. In fact, that may have been the same screw, come to think of it. I'm thinking maybe it is. Maybe that's a problem area for them to address. I don't know. But anyway, like I said, progress being made. I do have a new, I went ahead and ordered one on Amazon. In fact, Bob got it for me. So that in case there is a problem with the hot end, I will have a replacement for that right away, and that will be good. So that's the plan. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and tell Elegoo about it and see what they say. You know, I don't know that that's going to be their take on it as well, but we'll find out, because that's what my plan is to do. So let me do that, and I'll bring you back if I have more to. I probably won't show you putting the screws back in, because it's just 3 screws, and it's just using this Allen key on it to get them in and out. It's not a big deal, but like I said, that's the thing I found, and I'm pretty sure that might be your problem. So anyway, let me get that done, and I'll come back a little later and share with you some more maybe. Hi, we are back again today with the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. It's been a while since I did the last update on this. I think that was on September the 2nd. Today's the 20-something, I don't know. But anyway, I got doing, you know me, people, I get easily distracted, and therefore I tend to leave projects alone and do something else. And that's what's happened here. Now, originally, I think I had mentioned I was going to take and tighten this screw here a little bit and go that route, but I'm not going to do that. This was not that hard to get apart, so my decision is to basically put this back on as it should be. So let me look at that and see. I'll be back. Good afternoon, YouTube. Here back with you on this Sunday, and what I am looking at is the basically the finished product. I don't know how well you can see it, but that is a piece of filament sticking out of there. It is working now. I could not get it in here to record everything when I was trying to put it all together. I was lucky to get myself in there and get it all back together. Now, whether it's fixed or not, I don't know. I mean, I know it works, but let me kind of go through the timeline. Originally, I put it back together with this, which is the original hot end That is the nozzle where the, you can see it right there, that's the nozzle. That's what that is. That's the original one that came with the 3D printer. So that's what that looks like. Now, with that in there, I put everything back together, and it printed and extruded the filament, did all that stuff. And it only printed for like three minutes, and then it would stop, and the display would go red and say there was an anomaly, and the whole printer would just shut down. So what it was, well, when I started watching the temperature on the hot end, the nozzle's temperature, it kept going down, and once it got to a certain point, that's when it shut down. Whether or not it was the heating element or the little sensor, the thermistor that senses the temperature, I don't know which one it was, but I do know that it stopped. And luckily, I had Bob order me a new hot end in case that was the problem off of Amazon, and I had that, so I just basically put that new one in, and now it prints fine. Now, as to the original problem, I think last video, we went over the problems I found with the loose screws on the gearbox, and as such, I believe those were the problem that we were having with it feeding. Now, having said that, I tightened them up as tight as I could safely get them, and I say safely, looking on the internet, if you look up problems for that, you will find that those screws strip out pretty easily. And so I just use a common sense and just tighten them up till I thought, they were tight enough to hold it. And so now, since that time, when I got it printing, I have printed several items on it. Nothing real long. I think the longest one was an hour. And I did those a couple of different times. So, like I said, it has been working just fine. But I have already been making plans for the next time this happens, because I kind of figure it'll happen again. It happens twice. Actually, it really didn't happen twice. When I got the printer, the screws were loose, and I tightened them up originally. And then, having print that one, and it stopped. And I don't know if the screws were getting loose then or not, but I went ahead and got it going again. And I never really started another long print until that other moon that I tried to print. Well, actually, I did print one large moon in between there. It worked fine. So apparently the screws hadn't loosened up then. But the next time I tried to print one and leave it go overnight, it said it was finished when I came out the next morning, but it had an error print. It just stopped printing for whatever the reason, and I'm figuring it was the extruder was not extruding filament down into the hot end to where it would feed the print. So, anywho, long story short, I know I keep saying things like that and don't really follow through. I think if this ever happens again, which I'm almost certain it will, my plan is to take apart the whole thing again, and when I put it back together, I'm going to use some Loctite on those. I think there's 3 screws that hold that gearbox in, and I'm going to use some aggressive Loctite, thread locker, whatever you want to call it, and see if that doesn't help the situation. I guess is a lack of better. This is a known issue on the on this machine. You can look it up on Google, and it comes up in AI that it is a known problem. And they say the softness of the screws is the problem. That's why it tends to loosen up. They recommend harder screws. So I'm going to try the thread locker because I think that should work just fine. It doesn't happen that often. Now, as to getting hot, some people might think, well, you would think that print head would get pretty hot. Well, that part doesn't. Up there is not cold, obviously, but it's not hot to the point where it's like the place where the filament comes out down here. That gets really hot. But again, there's a rubber around that, and there's a big heat sink. As I showed you the heat sink. right there. You can see it. Big heat sink, and it's on both sides, you can see. So that doesn't transfer much heat to the actual where it connects to. I don't know if I can show you that or not. Let me see if I can get this off. Yeah, there you go. You can see it. Those are two of the screws for the gearbox right there. The third one is underneath there. That's the other thing. My plan is the next time I have to take this apart, I'm going to cut a hole right here where this screw is, and that way I don't have to take the whole thing apart to just screw the screw back in. So you know, every little bit you can do to help out things like this, you know, it's worth doing. Now, I did not adjust the tightness of the gearbox at all. That part was working fine. I have no reason to doubt that that was just fine, and I still don't have any reason to doubt it was fine. It's been working just fine. So again, it's combination this time of the and I did have that off, and I don't know if I screwed it up when I put it back on or not, but anyway, it was you know, see, that's another thing here. That thing just falls right off. You know, I can't, I'll have to do it off camera because I have to get way in there to get it back on there. But this, you know, I just wish someone would come out with an improved version of that, because I think I'd buy that in a hurry. The actual, you know, most of the printer is pretty well designed. I think maybe they skimped just a little on the quality components to get the price where it's at, but at the same time, you know, if you can put up with you know, little problems now and then, you can get by. I mean, you know, if it's just a matter, like I said, if it was just a matter of having come in here and tighten these 3 screws up, if there was a slot there, you know, a hole, I mean, that wouldn't be that hard. You could do that after, you know, say you printed, you know, 2-3 weeks or even a month, and then tighten those screws up and just, you know, go on about your like a daily maintenance type thing. So like I said, that was the whole explanation there of the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, and I wanted to wrap this up and you know, tell you that it is back working. Again, like I said, if I do decide to, or I should say, when the problem arises again that I have to take that apart, I will show you my fixes as far as drilling that hole and putting the thread locker or Loctite on it. So we'll come back then and show you that. Until then, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see ya.